First impression of Driver when I tried it is that it runs in 60 frames per second, and that's really something that all games should do. Have you guys been working at this a long time?
We've been working on Driver San Francisco for 4.5 years, and part of the design right from the very beginning, 4.5 years ago, was that this game we wanted to run in 60 frames a second. And the thing is that is not a small thing to say. A game like this, especially San Francisco, when you can be, you know, at the top of a hill looking over the whole bay, and I don't know if you've noticed, but the game you can see incredible vistas across the bay to the other side, to Marin County and so on. The number of vehicles, the number of pedestrians, to get that running in 60 frames a second was a huge task, and what we had to do was actually build all of the rendering engine and the physics engine ourselves from the ground up. We don't take any of that stuff off the shelf, and that's one of the reasons, not the only reason it took so long, but it's one of the reasons.
What kind of changes are we seeing in this new Driver game?
Well, Driver is it's kind of got two sides to it, really. It's got the old and the new. The old in terms of satisfying the fans of the original game. If you pick up the controller and play the game, you immediately feel like it's Driver. It's got that same handling from the original game, the big tail-out slides of the 70s muscle cars. The same characters from the first two games as well, first three games actually. So it has a lot of familiarity, especially for, you know, the fans of the original game. But the new, with the new innovative feature, something that Reflections have always been known for actually is innovation, with even going back a long time, the Shadow of the Beast and the you know, the Stuntman and Destruction Derby and so on. Always a certain level of innovation in there, and Driver San Francisco is no exception. In fact, the innovation in Driver is really quite considerable. This ability to shift between cars immediately, instantaneously, seamlessly, and rapidly, including distances of the entire width of the city. The Driver is a story-driven game. It always has been, even all the way back to Driver 1. And we bring the same characters back: Tanner, the undercover cop; Tobias Jones, his partner; Jericho, his arch enemy, if you like. So it's always been story-driven. You know, a lot of cutscenes, music-driven cutscenes as well. A very sort of cinematic experience, really.
Will you be able to go out of the car?
You can't get out of the car in terms of walk around and that sort of thing. But to a certain extent, the need to do that is negated by the shift feature, which allows you to swap between cars far more rapidly than you would by getting out of a car and running around. But really what we tried to do was to focus very much on the driving and the driving experience, and we didn't want to spend time working on the out-of-car action in terms of running around. We wanted to just totally focus on the driving and the action, and also the speed of the action, and that's something that Shift really brings, is the speed of reactions, a very frantic energy. The multiplayer is a huge part of Driver. I mean, we have 19 modes, I think we have in multiplayer. We have split screen, two-player split screen, and online modes, and they consist of cooperative modes, team-based cooperative games, obviously competitive games as well. And what it's allowed us to do is to create games that are not traditionally associated with a driving game. So from a design point of view, we've almost approached them as you would a first-person shooter. So we have base defense type games, you know, tag, capture the flag, things that would not traditionally work in a driving game, but because of Shift, it just transforms what we can do with it.
So you will be able to shift in the multiplayer?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the Shift is an integral part of both the single player and the multiplayer game, and not all of the multiplayer games allow Shift. We've deliberately blocked it from some of the games so that if somebody wants to have a straight chase or race with no Shift, and you know, obviously you don't want the other people to be able to shift as well, you can select that. But the ones that really create the difference, the things that are different to anything else that you've played, they're the ones that involve Shift.
Yeah, they better have their seatbelts on.
I hope you can teach all the other development guys that how to make games that run in 60, because I believe it's very, very important.
It's very important, especially to a driving game, because of the speeds involved. And actually we have a little switch that we can flick in the game, a software switch, where you can switch the game to 30 just to see what it looks like. And every time we switch it, we do it to remind ourselves why it was worth all the effort, because as soon as you do it, you go, oh God, that looks awful. Switch it back into 60 again. But I mean, it's not an easy thing to do. You know, you can't. You have to design the game right from the very beginning this is what it's going to be. It's going to run in 60, and you have to be totally committed to that from a design point of view and from a technical design point of view. But for us, we decided it had to be 60, and then we would max everything out on the hardware to get every last drop of blood out of the machines to hit 60.